So I recently finished reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and this is one of my favorite books of any genre. The title makes it sound like it's a book on communications, but it's pretty far from that. I think it's more of a book about relationships, how to have really strong, deep relationships with people. And influence people already gives it a negative connotation, right? Like you're going to manipulate someone with this knowledge or with what's in this book. And I don't think it's like that at all. It's the most positive light of influencing that you could put on like public communication, leadership, work. It's just a fantastic read. This book should have been in high school syllabuses, regardless of profession, race, age, any capacity of like human being that you're living in. I think this book is incredibly helpful because it's adding to the depth of your relationship. It makes sure that both sides are being heard. So typically, like when you're the speaker, right, you lose track of your audience. You're really focused around yourself and getting your point across to people. But this book is really a reminder of how to step out of yourself when you're speaking to people. Because when you're talking to people, a lot of times they don't really care. They don't care about you necessarily. They care about things that affect them. Like, I understand, your friends, you already have some context there, so they will care about you, but it's actually, winning friends. Like, how do you build that relationship with somebody? And it doesn't start with going up to people and telling them, like, this is who I am, I'm really cool. It's obviously, like, we're adults now, we know that's not how making relationships work. So in this book, it does a great job of just realizing like the person that you're talking to, recognizing them as a person, and doing that in your communication. It's helpful whether it's in your career, in your family life, in your personal life, your dating life. It's just I apply the lessons from this book on a regular day basis. That's how in love with this book I am. I know everyone is different. The choice of words that we use and when we hear those words, it all can be interpreted in different ways. And this book is really about like when you're speaking to someone, recognizing what do they want out of the conversation? Where is their headspace at? What do they really care about? And I think that this book does a great job of helping everybody see eye to eye in a way that they may not have before, and just improving those relationships. Because when you talk about like networking, whether it's in a career space to advance yourself, just having relationships matter. People matter. And this book, especially if you're somebody that's an introvert like I was, if you're somebody that's trying to pursue sales or just grow professionally, this is the book that will really jumpstart that journey. Because I think that for me too, as a young professional, I have a lot of self-doubt, and reading this book helps me remove myself from my own mind and my own insecurities when I am in a work environment or in a work situation. So ultimately, this is a book about how to treat people better. That's really what I think it is. It's not about talking better. It's not about being any type of way, being a better leader. It's just treating people better. And that singular thing alone can improve your life drastically. So he opens the book up with like this main theme for like the main theme in the beginning is the fundamentals of handling people. And it starts off with don't criticize, condemn, or complain. And I really, really like that one because there's people, everybody's familiar with that person at work who just has nothing to say except complaints. And everybody complains. Everybody needs to vent and rant sometimes. No problem. But when you only complain, like that person, you don't really want to hear it, because just starting off your day, like at the the water tank, the water cooler talk, starting your day off at the water cooler or at the coffee pot and then hearing complaints top of your morning, you're already put into a bad mood, like you're thinking negatively already. And so imagine being on the other side of that. Like if you are the person that's complaining, so the person across from you probably isn't going to be like as welcoming about it. Maybe they're not going to care. Like sometimes you can bond over a negative experience, right? Like, hey, like I don't like that our manager is doing this, or I don't like this change in whatever. And you can face those things together. But when you're criticizing people too, it shuts people off. People don't become as receptive to whatever you have to say because you're criticizing them rather than making it a work with situation. The next big point that I really like is give honest and sincere appreciation. So if you lead conversations with like thank you, it gets you so much further because you're recognizing that person's efforts on your behalf. So it could be as simple as like just that, like, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience rather than saying sorry that I'm late has an entirely different tone of mutual respect. And so just being honest and being sincerely like grateful for people and grateful for who they are, that goes a long way because you're recognizing the individual, their efforts, and if you felt that, like that would feel incredible. That's really what everybody's after in a social situation. And the third main point that I was a big fan of is to arouse in the other person an eager want. And I know a lot of people avoid social engagements because it's hard for them to enjoy a conversation or a person if there isn't something that they're talking about where they both care about it. Imagine all the boring conversations or lectures from people that you've listened to, and only because they were passionate about it, like they just kept talking. And it feels good to talk about something that you care about, but you have to be mindful of the person that's listening, because if you're talking for 3 minutes, past 3 minutes, 5 minutes about something that they don't care about, you're putting a strain on their relationship because it's not being mutually reciprocated where you are listening to them as much as they are listening to you. And if you're going to talk about something with them and you're going to share something that you're really passionate about, if you want to avoid feeling shut down and rejected, probably talking about something that you think they might have an interest in and actively throughout the conversation requesting feedback, like, oh, what do you think? Or just that feedback is important because it's an engagement, it's a conversation. So the book is divided into 3 main sections, and in the first section, it is 6 ways to make people like you. I'm just going to try to read through them as, briefly. The first one is become genuinely interested in other people. I really like this one because as someone that was an introvert or someone that typically, like growing up, I always thought myself as an outsider, it helps because I don't want to always have to be on the outside, and if I can express a genuine interest in someone else, which I authentically do, then it improves the relationship because you're already starting off of like a place of authenticity, honesty, vulnerability, and it allows the other person to be themselves because you're seeing exactly who they are. And so when I say like genuinely interested in people, at work, for example, everybody goes to work and everyone just kind of has this small talk, but they don't really follow up. They don't really care. They're just talking to talk, right? Well, when I talk to people, especially my coworkers, like I want to build those relationships, or even if they're a new coworker to me, I'm asking the things that they care about. Like, what are your hobbies? Like, what did you do this last weekend? How's your kid feeling? Like, I know they were sick yesterday. Stuff like that of just, I care, I hear you, and I'm interested in your life. I'm interested in the things you're doing. Like, check on people. And I think that's how you can really build this this relationship of interest because sometimes, what often happens is like people will be honest and transparent, like, oh yeah, my kid is feeling better. Thank you for asking. Oh, but thanks for asking. How are you doing? Like, what's up with your life? And it becomes a deeper relationship. It opens a door when you are being authentic in how much you care about someone and what's going on in their life. A second way to make people like you is to smile. And I know that sounds incredibly cheesy and corny, but it's true. People that are smiling at you versus like mean mugging or just looking bored, you're going to feel more welcomed and have a friendlier approach towards someone that's smiling at you than someone that looks like they don't want anything to do with you. So just smile if you want to appear more likable. The third thing is remember that a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest sound in any language. I live by this one because if I can say someone's name multiple times throughout a conversation, I will. I'm not going to say it at the end of every single sentence, but I can say like, hey, thank you, Melinda. You were incredibly helpful today. I'll pass the good word on to your manager. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day, Melinda. I use it in the beginning. I use it at the end. If I say thank you, I'm going to put their name at the end of it because when you think about what a name means to somebody, like that is supposed to be the sweetest sound they've ever heard. That's like the first thing that they were called growing up. It's a song in their head that they have heard since they were a baby. And so if you can put a positive tone to their name, people will have a better relationship with you for respecting their name. So for example, my name is Elizabeth, but when people come up to me calling me Liz or Lizzie, I instantly dislike them more just because that's not my name. I don't go by that. You didn't ask me that. And there's a lot of people out there that feel that way. Like some people are forced to abbreviate their names just because people can't say their, ethnic name, their cultural name correctly. And I feel for that because it's just like if you can say someone's name, it's the sweetest song to them, it'll improve your relationship that much more because it's like positive reinforcement. It's like they get to hear the song often. And it's not like conditioning a dog, but it really is just people. It's your name. Like, that's respect on your name. That's your honor, your pride. And if somebody else is like putting pride and respect to your name, it feels good. So, I mean, that sounded like incredibly deep to hip hop culture, but we'll roll with it. So the fourth thing, in order for people to like you, is to be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves. And this builds rapport, it builds trust, and it builds a reputation for being someone that considers what others have to say. So if you're a good listener, it means that people will want to talk to you. People will want to share things with you and get your input and actually hear you in response. But if you're somebody that's already over talking people, they're not going to want to talk to you about things. They're not going to want to solve problems with you. And you know what it's like. Everybody's been in a conversation with someone that just can't stop interrupting them. And not only does it feel like disrespectful, but it feels like, like your voice isn't being heard in that space. And yeah, it just doesn't build that positive of a relationship with someone that you can actually talk to each other. The fifth thing, in order for people to like you, is to talk in terms of the other person's interests. As I was saying in the beginning, talk about things that people care about and not just things that you care about. And the sixth thing to make people like you is make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. So it's acknowledging and appreciating the value of others. It's what they contribute to a conversation. Like, you know what, I really like that insight, or that's a good question. People like to feel important. Or when you're delegating a task as a manager, you have to be thinking about like, if you want someone to do a task for you, you have to at least like recognize the value of what the task means to you, and also the fact that this person is willing to do the work to help you get the task. Be grateful for that, because they could have quit and decided not to. Just that general gratitude and seeing people for where they are is a very prominent theme throughout the book. The second section of the book is win people to your way of thinking. And I really like this because I think that this is just how to have a productive conversation with somebody. If you feel like you get stuck, you feel like you don't get heard, this is the section for you. Step 1 is to avoid arguments. Don't start off trying to have an argument or a debate with someone. Ask questions, speak to them from a point of like, I want to understand. Point 2 is show respect for the other person's opinions. Never say you're wrong. And I know in today's climates, I'm just going to say climates and not even use any other P words. We're very quick to call people out on like, you're wrong, or no, that's incorrect. Like, we live in a world where there's really harsh corrections versus like, you could say you're wrong or that's not correct in a much nicer way. Try to understand like what was their thought process first, and then describe to them like, well, in the future or next time, let's do this. Saying that you're wrong to somebody is not productive in a conversation. They will instantly shut down when you disrespect their opinions. Step 3 is if you are wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. So I do this all the time, especially in a workplace. I think it'll take you a long ways if you're somebody that is very quick to say, hey, I made a mistake. I don't know how to fix it. And to just be someone that like to say that you made a mistake in something, to own like, oh yeah, let me correct that. I did not get that right. That was my mistake. When you take ownership of your mistakes like that, you are so respected in the workplace and in your relationships, because that personal accountability in anything, whether it's a work environment or like a personal environment, that personal responsibility matters so much to people, because they know that they can count on you, that they can rely on you, and their ability to trust you increases. Number 4, to win people to your way of thinking, is to begin in a friendly way. Give them a smile, like just having a conversation with someone versus I want to argue with you, I want to sell you on something. Just be friendly, and part of that friendliness is just you being open and a little bit more vulnerable as a person to just saying like, hi, friendly. Just be friendly. And then number 5, to win people to your way of thinking, is get the other person saying yes, yes immediately. And you hear this all the time in sales. Like if you get like the 3 yeses, then by the time that you're asking them to put money down or for the sale, they're already conditioned to say yes. I don't think of it that way. I think it's more of just a general agreeability with someone. Like you're creating an agreeable relationship communication channel with this person. So you have to find a common ground to build agreement, and you have to be friendly the whole way through it. The sixth step in winning people to your way of thinking is to let the other person do a great deal of the talking. This applies to sales, this applies to relationships and work. The more you listen, the more information you'll be able to act on. And if you let them do a lot of talking, it's part of the conversation. Like maybe you're not even realizing how little you're letting someone talk, but if you encourage people to talk more and you let them complete their ideas, they respect you again as a listener, and it also improves like the quality of the relationship. They're going to be open to you because here you were completely listening and open to them. The next step for winning people the way you're thinking is to let the other person feel that the idea is theirs. There have been so many moments at work where I'll have someone come up to me and have an Excel problem or like an analysis data problem, and I'll tell them like some piece of information, they'll run off with it, and then they'll go and get praise and blah, 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 blah. They'll never credit back to me. I don't care. I was like, as long as the job was done correctly, as long as somebody thrived and was celebrated about it, I don't really care. Like it wasn't directly my work. It was like, I just contributed to it. And this happens very often in a workplace. It's kind of like collaborative. I'm not going to step into everybody else's achievements and say, oh, you wouldn't have been there without me. I don't care. It's like, great, I'm glad somebody got this project done, that it was achieved. We're good to go. Like progress is made. It doesn't matter who gets the credit for it. It's progress. And that's a team thinking mentality, right? It was like, even though like someone might be the captain, it takes the whole team to do it. But if you're going to be the teammate that's always calling out like, oh, well, that was my goal, or like I made the most goals, or I made the most passes, the team effort doesn't really work as effectively. Number 8 is try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. I love this one because a lot of times in conversations, we're only thinking about the things we want to say, the points we want to get across. But sometimes whatever we want to say will not matter if the context of what the other person is thinking and hearing is on a totally different page than ours. So, step 9 is be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. If someone's telling you that they have an idea, they have a dream, or like, even if it's a workplace change they want to do, like I have an idea, be open-minded to it, like be respectful towards it and sympathize, like understand where they're coming from, what is driving this interest or this motivation to do this action. Number 10 is to appeal to the nobler motives. So recognizing that everybody has a family that they're all trying to get home to every day. You know, if you're on a phone call with someone that's in customer service, if you are talking to a customer of a store, it doesn't matter who you're talking to. Everybody has a family that they're trying to get home to. Everybody has things that they care about beyond this moment. And so recognizing that everybody has these greater dreams and goals individually, appeal to those things, like work with them because you're seeing that they have this higher intention for their life. If they do want to get a career raise or a promotion someday, try to gear actions, like the current action you're trying to get them to do, towards this end-all future goal. So it's like we're trying to tie all of it together, right? So it's today we're all going to work hard as a team so that way we can go home and pay for our families, like betterment. And then, I'm going to try to help you learn this skill so that way you can get the promotion. And that mutual encouragement of focusing on what these nobler motives are, like what are we really after? What are we really motivated to do these things for? Like how did we even get into this conversation? What motivated us? There's an end goal in every conversation and every interaction. Not necessarily like that's a good or bad thing. Like sometimes the end goal can just be like, I just want to be entertained by this conversation, but it's really hard to tell like what any intention is to a conversation. Like sometimes it's, I want to sell you something. Sometimes it's like, I want to entertain you. I want to laugh, or but there's these motivations for how you get into this conversation or this engagement in the first place, and just being aware of like, if there's a mutual goal for us at the end of this, how can we steer this conversation in a productive way to reach that goal? Number 11 is to dramatize your ideas. So if there is an idea that you want to get people behind, if you're an entrepreneur that's trying to get venture capital funding, you have to be very dramatic with your ideas. You have to be able to put them across in a way that people will understand. So if you use visuals, if you use metaphors, things people can understand, and make them big, make them exciting for people, so that way people will want to follow behind you. If the way that you're kind of trying to persuade people to do things is through just trick words or through plays on emotion, it doesn't do as much. You have to be very confident in your ideas. You have to be the storyteller, the representation for whatever your idea is, because whatever you're trying to convince someone of, whether it's a product, a service, a new direction, or process for doing things, you have to be really passionate behind it. Put a big personality behind your idea. And then number 12 is to throw down a challenge. So people love a good challenge. People love to rise above it. And especially, it really depends on your work environment. Some challenges are just not going to feel incentivizing for people. But if you throw down a good challenge, people will typically rise to meet it. The third section of this book is entirely dedicated to being a leader, and it's how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. The first step is to begin with praise and honest appreciation. That has been a constant theme throughout the book. Give people praise, recognize them for who they are, be honest when you're celebrating them. 2 is call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. And so this is kind of like a third party. You're going to try to third party any mistakes that they make. You're not trying to directly say that oh, it was Charlie that did it. You're trying to instead say oh, hey, Charlie, I noticed that the conveyor belt kind of was running a little funny. When I first started, this happened to me all the time. And when you when you move the fault away from them, whether you're normalizing the mistake, whether you put on an attitude of mistakes happen, we can fix it, it's not a big deal. When you call attention to mistakes, you have to get better as a company or as an organization or as a group. You have to call out mistakes, but there is way more effective ways of calling out mistakes and helping people grow to avoid the mistake being made again, than rather than just telling them you're wrong, rather than giving a demotion, rather than punishing them. You can make it a conversation, especially when you're defining the problem as something that other people do. You have to third party it and not make it directly them. It's just an obstacle that as a team we have to overcome. Number 3 is to talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. And it becomes a lot, to the point of step 2, if there was a mistake, if you call out your own first, it'll make it a lot easier for the other person to hear, I've done this mistake. It's, it happens. And that openness as a leader, that mistakes can be made and it's not going to be life-ending, it's not going to be career-ending, it's just something that as a team we have to work together to fix. That's a great leadership mentality and a great cultural tone for any team. Number 4 is to ask questions instead of giving direct orders. I really like this one because when I have a manager ask me a question, I will go through the process to find the answer without having to really be told oh, I want you to create a report on this, this, and this. All they have to do is just ask me the question and I'll go out and find the answer. And I think the other side of it too is, if someone makes a mistake and you just directly tell them, do it like this instead, maybe try asking them what was the decision process to lead to the mistake in the first place, because you want to stop this mistake from happening again, but why did it happen? And instead, if you're only giving an order, you're not going to get to the root of that why, that motivation, and the original root cause. Number 5, I like this one. It's let the other person save face. You don't have to condemn or shut down anyone or make anybody a poster child for mistakes at work. I think it makes it incredibly toxic. It puts a lot of pressure on one person, and it circulates a fear throughout the team that anybody could make a mistake, and then anybody could be next to be made fun of for being the fool of the group. And so, if someone makes a mistake, you don't have to say their name. Just say someone on the team, we fixed it. Be focused around a solution rather than focusing on like the problem, focused on blaming people. It doesn't help. Step 6 is to praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. Dale Carnegie is an older guy. Like, this is an older book, and it's been true to time because it's still around. It's incredibly still relevant. But hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise just sounds so 1930s to me. But I understand exactly what he's saying, because you have to praise, like giving praise to like the little things, whether it's like, good job today, team. It has to be often, you have to mean it, and it has to like be very specific to those improvements, like call out what got better. Because when you give praise to those little adjustments, you're going to have more positive adjustments happening, versus like if every time there's something negative that happens, and you call out the negatives instead of praising the positives, everyone's going to be so focused on the negatives, it's going to be hard to get one positive out of a team, because people become more afraid of taking risks to do better things. Number 7 is to give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. And this is my favorite one out of the whole book, because I do this as often as I possibly can, and it freaking works. A fine reputation to live up to. So for example, when I'm at work and I don't know how to do something and I want somebody to, ASAP help me with this, I tell them, look, I know you're incredibly experienced in this and I don't have the same level, I don't have the same skills or access that you do to this. I would really appreciate your assistance. Fine reputation. So I could say like, you're the best data analyst in this company. You're the best you're the best senior financial accountant here. Saying those things, it makes people feel incredibly good, and they want to do actions to help live up to that name of like, this is the expectation of me. But they don't think of it as an expectation within themselves. They treat it like, this is my reputation. I'm proud of my reputation. I'm proud to be thought of as this. And that's the feeling that you would want people to feel as a leader. You want them to be proud of their abilities. You want to celebrate and have them hone in on what they're really good at. So I love that one. Give a person a fine reputation to live up to. Number 8 is to use encouragement and make the fault seem easy to correct. I live by this. I live by like this book, I swear. But make the fault easy to correct. I 100% agree with this. In a workplace, there is nothing that can't be fixed. Like, unless there's like massive fraud, there's a data breach, those are really bad things. But with a lot of like just, hey, a number was mistyped here, financials came out wrong, I sent a box to the wrong address. Things happen, things go wrong. It's not a big deal. And you want to be a leader that's going to call out the mistake, yeah, but you also want to have a solution. And if there is a correction process for this, show the employee, so that way at least they're kind of aware of how much effort it takes on the back end to fix it. Whether it's a lot of work or a little work, that additional knowledge for them is beneficial. But also like the confidence as a team that like, hey, I can make a mistake and I can tell my boss without expecting to lose my job, really matters. Like, if you're able to just tell somebody that that you made a mistake, it's not a big deal, that feels a lot better. And if your leader's attitude is, I'm going to help you fix it, rather than I'm going to burn you at the stake for a mistake, then it feels a lot better in your workplace. But definitely like using encouragement, pushing people to be the best selves that they can be. And number 9, the last point, was to make the other person happy about doing the thing you suggest. If someone is not happy about it, like, and it's going to happen that there's things you want to do that you're not going to feel happy about. It happens all the time at work, happens all the time in just life. There's plenty of things we don't want to do, but we have to do them. Find a way to make them happy about it. And that's kind of like your job as a leader, as a manager. There's going to be hard tasks and obstacles as a team you're going to have to face. Some people aren't going to want to do it, but everybody will have to get over that hill together in order to succeed. And if you're able to make the team happy, like, I don't know, whether it's incentivizing like this thing people don't want to do, like on the other side of this audit, we're going to have a pizza party, or, like if you phrase it like, this would be great experience for you. I'll add this into like a document that I can submit to management for when it's time to look at your raise. Stuff like that, like make the other person happy about it. Like recognizing that there is an internal motivation that they have in their life. And if they don't want to do it, then how can you make them happy about it? Like what is a way that they would kind of want to do it? Just making it less painful for people. So again, making people happy, just treating people better, hearing people, sympathizing with them. This book touches on so many points of human interaction. I love it. I think it's incredibly helpful for my professional life, my personal life. I literally use the lessons in this book every day. I reference it to people that I speak to, at least on a weekly basis. I'm talking about this book. And I read this book initially a year ago, but I am still like rereading it and just revisiting concepts in it because having those relationships matter, and I care about having deeper relationships, and this book has really helped me care more about people because my relationships got better. I was able to see them a little bit better and move away from my own headspace of just really becoming hyper fixed on what I was thinking and what I was feeling, and just it's really helped with overall living in the present and feeling more connected to other people. It's a great book. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Definitely pick yourself up a copy. I'm going to include a link in the bio below if you want to pick up a copy from Amazon. I may or may not get a commission from you using my affiliate link. But currently, I am still in the middle of reading 2 books, Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. I love him. And also The Bezos Blueprint by Carmine Gallo. Fantastic book as well. This is a true communications book compared to How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this is really good though. It's really, really good. Like I did not think I would be so interested in reading about Jeff Bezos's writing, but it's good. And Your Next 5 Moves, it's a little bit more business strategy oriented. I still really enjoy this read because it's the mental framing, and the mental framing alone for just setting intent for your life. What are you really about? Living your life by your values. Love this book for that. So, yeah, just constantly reading. I know it's been a while since I've done a book review, but if you found any value out of this, please give me a like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day.